Hello everyone, welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker Hazel, and this is my co-host who triggers my flight or fight response, Tanner Dykstra, and today we are here to talk about the latest entry in the long-running but very shaky franchise, Predator. This movie is called Prey. Finally, they did it. That's so creative. I'm so glad they finally have those two movies to go against each other. And the movie's out. We've both seen it. But if you want to talk to us about Prey or any of the other Predator movies, because we have recently watched through all of them, you can join our Discord. That link is in the top of the description. And while you're down there, you can join our Discord. And you can like this video. You can subscribe to the channel. And you can ring the bell because we are doing a ton of movie reviews coming up. August is quietly stacked. I would say you're not going to want to miss all the reviews we're doing. So stick around for that. But Prey, Tanner, you're fresh-faced. You just got out of seeing it.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? Top level.
I love Prey. I think Prey is great. I think it is the best Predator movie maybe not by a long shot, because I like that first Predator movie, but it is by far the strongest in a lot of categories. It has not only like some of the best action and best kills in any Predator movie, but it also has probably the most compelling character arc for a main character.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it checks a lot of boxes for me. On top of, being compelling from a character standpoint and just being cool as hell. But Tucker, what do you think?
No, I'm on the exact same page as you. I think this is easily my favorite Predator movie. I would be hesitant to say that it's the best because I don't have the reference for the original film that other people do. But what I have found with Prey is that the reverence that other people feel for the original Predator movie is because that was really of that time. And most of the people who revere it grew up with that film. And it started such a long line of knockoffs and in this era of big burly guys shooting shit up. And that never really appealed to me personally because it always felt like a little bit of an era that was before my time. But what Prey does is give us the same idea of a predator above the predators, hunting humans, hunting animals, and messing up an ecosystem in a way that feels a lot more modern, a lot more fresh, while doing something very important, which is providing a large-scale action blockbuster in a long-running franchise that is led by an indigenous woman, which is the first time in history that's ever happened, and it's all the better for it because it really gives this film a unique identity. And you're saying all these things, which I absolutely agree with, top in all these categories, but I think for me the thing that sticks out the most, aside from the acting, aside from the action, all of this, is that this movie is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I think this is one of the best looking films I've seen all year in terms of the way that color is used with highlights of the green blood from the predator or orange flowers in the background. And of course, I'll let you go on your tirade, but egregiously beautiful shots of the American Northwest.
Yes. This movie is, of course, set in the northern Great Plains. We don't get like a modern geographical location, which I appreciated. Also, because it makes it more relevant and more salient to the time period in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, well, they didn't have state borders.
Exactly,
and all that. Set in the 1700s, exactly.
But yeah, Tucker, I'm a sucker for, beautiful, picturesque wide shots of the American West, and this is no exception. We get the misty, smoky mountains of, the Montana or Wyoming or wherever they shot this. I could probably look that up, but I'm not going to, because it's so beautiful, it transcends that real place. It feels like we are back in, the early, or 18th century, if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yes.
And we are, I love all the setting stuff that they do in this. We get to see, the Comanche culture and stuff in here, but we also get to see the French trappers who were in this area at the same time as well, and they seem to have a history with the predator. Maybe they know that it's out there and everything. So I love what I love not only the setting of this, but what Trachtenberg and the cinematographer Jeff Cutter do with the camera in this. Not only those wide shots, which I'm a sucker for, but close-ups of these gnarly dead carcasses and stuff like that of the animals.
Lots of those.
Which the predator is killing for a good chunk of this movie. He's going around, he's sort of working his way up the food chain in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I actually do want to focus on that because I think it's an element of the film that a lot of people look over. I've listened to a lot of reviews and read a lot of reviews of this film, and the point that most people come down on this film negatively is that that it's not as action-packed for the first third, first half, somewhere around there. And I think that's reasonable. I mean, I certainly think that the last act of this film is where it really shines in its action and closing out Naru's character arc. But the beginning of this film really worked well for me to establish the tone of the environment and the ecosystem that is being disrupted by this predator, which is, by the way, a different predator than we've seen in the other films.
Yes.
It's like a different species of predator. It also wears a bone mask, which is really cool. And it also doesn't have the technology that the other predators have. So it gives this predator a little more lean, a little more stocky, and less bulky than the other ones we've seen. It gives it its own identity. And watching it pick its way through the ecosystem and watching how the ecosystem reacts to a predator being introduced, like the delicate balance of nature has been disrupted, which we've never really felt before, because it's always just guys throwing bombs and shooting guns and he's in the city and whatever the hell happened in The Predator. This feels a lot more ingrained in culture and naturalism, and then boom, some crazy creature is coming to fuck things up.
I mean, of course, the Predator could be viewed as a metaphor in a lot of ways, a stand-in for the European settlers coming in. We do see them and the colonialism and stuff like that. Of course, we do see the field full of bison, that is ultimately done more killing to animals than the Predator ever could have done.
True.
Field full of bison that are taken only for their pelts and nothing else. And then, of course, they get their comeuppance when the Predator just absolutely tears through them.
Jesus
and
Christ.
an incredible scene that is chock full of some of the coolest kills we've seen, not only in Predator movies, but maybe in maybe action sci-fi cinema altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool, just the ideas that they come up with of like, how can this Predator kill people? I love that it has pared down sort of technology as well.
Yeah.
This is 300 years before we see our modern Predator technology as well.
Yeah.
So they're firing like actual physical like metal darts instead of laser cannons or whatever with their three little laser sights and stuff like that. He has like a metal shield and an actual metal spear that can take on multiple forms, and the bone mask,
Kind of like
you were
Kratos
saying.
in God of War when he goes and
Yeah, exactly.
pulls out that shield.
He has the bone mask, like you were saying, and everything, which comes around at the end, of course. But yeah, just a lot of cool ideas and production design stuff in this movie as well.
No, absolutely. And I think that the action really gives the way the action is used in this film helps to give it its own identity, because we are not, as we're saying, using the characters are not using bombs and guns and things like that we've seen in the other ones, but we're using Naru's main weapon is a hatchet attached to a string, which we see her make and practice with, and it's so cool how she whips it back and catches it and bounces it off of things, and then of course uses bows and arrows, and it definitely gives the action a lot more visceral feeling than just blood and guts going everywhere because it's being blown up. No, arrows are piercing through things and blood's coming out the other end, and knives and blades and hatchets are slicing through arms and fingers and bone and stuff like that, and it definitely has a different feeling to the action and the pacing of the action, because the characters that we're watching are so much pared back in their access to technology. I mean, we see Naru have her first experience with a gun in this film, and like, we're just watching guys shoot guns all the live long day in literally all the other films, and that's such a different polar opposite.
Yeah, it's more visceral. Like, I like that word you said, Tucker. We are, our characters are up close and personal, hand to hand fighting the Predator, and that's what makes the action so cool in this. I mean, you see her brother Tabe in a particular scene really express his skills as like the master hunter of their tribe, which is incredibly cool. But then also on the other hand, you do have some gunplay in this, which is it is so far removed from our modern sense of weaponry, especially in Predator movies, where in like the first one we see a character just unload a massive clip into the jungle, where in this we get I remember the one scene
of the three Frenchmen
with the three guys, and they all shoot once, they're like and they're like scrambling to reload their guns. It's comedic in that sense, but you're like, these guys they stand no chance. They stand no chance. But yeah, to go back to Naru a second, I really liked her. Amber Midthunder. She's fantastic, and like I said at the beginning of this, has probably the most compelling and complete and interesting character arc of any protagonist in a Predator film. I mean, you have maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first movie becoming like humbled from his machismo and stuff like
Sure.
that. Danny Glover does
Lightly.
something in Predator 2. Uh, and the Predator Boyd Holbrook becomes like a better dad or
I don't even
whatever.
remember that character.
But anyway, and then something happens in the Predators as well. But this is really interesting how it's about her becoming a threat, becoming,
Yeah.
fully realized as someone who can like stand her own against the
Yeah.
natural world and the threats within it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's really cool.
And that's tied in really neatly to the character arc that is attached to the Comanche culture, which is the idea of hunting something that is hunting you to become a full-fledged warrior. And as soon as it's revealed that that's sort of a thing in the culture, I'm like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Her
Perfect
her
for a Predator movie.
that she has to hunt that's hunting her is a predator, and that's such a cool way to tie that in. And of course also ties it into the war culture and hunting culture and a gender role culture of her Comanche tribe, and the fact that no one around her thinks that she can hunt. Like, yeah, you just need to stay back, like you're gonna mess things up, but you're good at medicine, but whatever. And she's always out in the woods training on her own just to prove people wrong, and it gives her a really distinct personality and like drive that we haven't really seen from the other main characters of a lot of action movies, but especially the Predator franchise, because everyone in those films is so assured of themselves and knows that they can take on anything that comes their way. Although, of course, they're put in situations where, like, oh god, this is terrible. But she feels more determined in her will to overcome the Predator, and we also get to see her learn techniques and watch the Predator and learn the Predator's techniques, so that when you get to that last action sequence, which, believe it or not, this is not really spoilers, she fights the Predator at the end, but it comes together in
What?
really satisfying ways where
Yes.
things we've watched her learn across the film come into play in that last action sequence, and that puts a nice bow on her character arc alongside, her working along with her brother and her dog, Sorry, who's a really fun presence in this film. And also, I believe one of the only actual animals in this film, which definitely comes along with the criticism, is there's some CGI animals in this movie. And
Yeah.
boy, howdy, are they CGI animals. There's a long sequence of the bear. Not a great CGI bear. A good scene in concept, but a CGI bear, a CGI wolf, kind of takes me out a little bit.
I don't know. I didn't really feel that. I guess I'm gonna co-opt an Abram Buner statement in that.
Sure.
As long as the CGI is fine, and like I think what's more important is
It's
the
fine.
yeah, the writing and the situation that you're put in, because yeah, there's a CGI bear, but I was watching this with our friend Sam. We both said, oh shit, when it started busting through the trees, and when she's like trying to realign her bow and stuff like that, the
Yeah.
weight and the importance of that scene is still there, regardless of the shortcomings of this bear seeming slightly unrealistic to modern CGI standards.
No, that's certainly fair. And I mean, I was noticing that, but I certainly wasn't focused on it, because even that scene that you mentioned with that I mentioned, then you mentioned with the CGI bear, she's not just realigning her bowstring, she's realigning it because it got wet, which is a
Yes,
thing they
the
mentioned
setup,
earlier,
yes.
which if a bowstring gets wet, you can't really shoot exactly right. I'm like, oh, okay, it's tied together. And I think that all of this, the cinematography, the action, the character writing, the way it all ties together is a huge compliment to the creative team, and primarily director Dan Trachtenberg, who directed one of my other favorite sci-fi movies of recent
Great
years,
movie.
10 Cloverfield Lane. And what we see from this guy is a skill to take established franchises that are kind of floundering. Of
Yeah.
course, there was only one Cloverfield movie before 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Which
but,
was more
and
or nearly 10 years before
exactly.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
But take established concepts and put a really fresh spin on them that make me want to see more. Like, usually when someone says, hey, we're getting another entry in one of these franchises, I'm like, okay, they're just going to do the same thing again. But what Dan Trachtenberg does is he just puts a different angle on such interesting concepts of predators, of aliens coming down. And I really think this movie is fantastic and continues the trend of 2022 just being a weirdly good year for movies, at least in our opinion, but especially in action cinema. I mean, we just got off of seeing Bullet Train, and of course, Top Gun Maverick, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and all the superhero movies that come out this year. This is just another step above, I think, a lot of those movies, because it seems quality from every other angle. Great production design, great acting across the board. I absolutely think Amber Midthunder and the actor who plays Tabe, Dakota Beavers. I think the two of them, I hope they have incredibly flowering careers after this, because I thought they were amazing.
Yeah, I agree, Tucker. You mentioned a lot of stuff there, but like the setup and payoffs is really incredible for a 99-minute movie minus credits,
Yeah.
of course.
It definitely flies by.
It absolutely flies by. It is a tight narrative. We say that the first half of the movie is a little slow, but it's full of those setups that make you feel that feel so satisfying when they come around at the end and stuff like that. And everything comes around at the end, and that is just a testament, like you said, to the direction from Dan Trachtenberg, to the writers, and like I said, the cinematography is brilliant. The editing is obviously brilliant. Like I said, that tight narrative, and also the score for this movie is fantastic. Sam and I were sitting there and we were bobbing our heads to it as the intensity came in. Brilliant stuff there as well. I'm gonna give this film a 9 out of 10.
For me, it's going to be just a tiny bit lower, and I can't exactly say why,
Yeah,
but it's going to be an 8.6 for me.
Yeah.
I think this is an absolutely fantastic film, and frankly, through our talk, I've certainly grown a new appreciation for it. If I ever rewatch it, I believe it could be better, or higher, at least for me. But also, I do want to say quickly, is if you are a Predator fan, there is an Easter egg in this film that ties it together to another film in a weirdly like indirect way, but something kind of cool. So look out for that. But that's it for our Predator review. I really hope you enjoyed us basically just gushing about this movie.
Yeah, essentially.
And stick around. We've got other reviews coming very soon, and we will see you guys in the future.